Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this video, I'll show you how to create these custom radio buttons using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So here we can see these are basically input of type radio, but we have completely changed the look using HTML and CSS. Here we can see that by default, the first radio button is selected, and if I click on proceed, I'm just simply displaying the heading over here in the alert. And if I click on the second radio button and if I click on proceed, here we have the second heading displayed. So let's get started. Alright, here I have created this folder called custom radio buttons, and let's create the necessary file. So let's click on new file and let's create an HTML file. I'll just name it index.html. Let's create a CSS file. I'll just name it style.css. And let's also create a JavaScript file. I'll just name it main.js. And let's start with the index.html file. In VS Code, you can just press exclamation and press tab, and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. And here in the head section, I'll just link the CSS file. And here in the body, I'll just link the JavaScript file. And now let's start with the markup of our design. So the first thing we will do is we'll create a container division. So for this whole thing, we'll just create a container division. So let's give it a class of custom radio buttons. Now in this division, let's create a division for these two radio buttons. So I'll just create a division with the class of topic container. And in this, we'll create the radio button. So let's create an input, and let's give it a type of radio. And we'll also give it a class of radio so that we can style it in the CSS. Let's also give it an ID, and I will just set the ID to topic1. And now let's create a label for this input field. And before that, let's go ahead and open this in our browser. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you install that, you can just right click in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And here we can see our radio button is being displayed. Now let's create the label. So here let's create a label tag. And in the for, we need to add the ID. So let's tap topic1. And in this label, we will have the heading and the paragraph. So let's create an H2. And for the heading, I'll just type Internet of Things. Then we need to have a paragraph. So let's create a P tag. And let's go ahead and copy this paragraph from here. And I'll just paste it over here. And we need to create one more radio button. So I'll just copy this topic container and I'll just paste it down here. And for the second one, let's change the topic 1 to topic 2. And we need to change the heading and the paragraph. So I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it over here. And then for the paragraph, I'll just copy this and let's paste it right here. Right now we need to create a button. So let's create a button tag, and here I'll just tap proceed. And let's also give it a class. So I'll just tap class and let's set the class to btn. And that's basically it with our HTML. So if you go back to our design, here we can see that we have these two radio buttons. Now we can see that both the radio buttons are being selected at once. So we just want to select one of these at a time. So for that, let's go back, and here we also need to add a name. So I'll just type name, and for the name, I'll just type topic. You can name this anything you want, and I'll just copy this and add the same name over here for the second radio button. And now we can see that one of these radio buttons will be selected at a time. Now we will select the first radio button by default. So for that, let's go back, and here for the first radio button, let's add an attribute called checked. And now we can see that when we refresh this page, the first radio button is selected, and then we can go ahead and select the other ones. Alright, now it's time for us to style this using CSS. So let's go back to our CSS file. And first of all, let's bring everything to the center. So I'll just target the body, and I'll just set the height to 100 viewport height. And let's set the margin to 0 and display of grid and place items to the center. And now we can see everything is in the center. Now let's go ahead and target the topic container. So let's type topic container. And let's set the display to flex. And we will add a gap of 8 pixels between the elements, and let's also set a padding of 8 pixels top and bottom and 16 pixels left and right, and let's set the width of the element to 400 pixels, and let's add a background color, and let's set it to gray, and let's set the font family to Roboto. Right now for the paragraph, I'll just remove the margin. So let's type topic container P, and let's set the margin to 0. And for the heading, let's type topic container H2, and let's set the margin to 8 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. Right now when we have the radio button selected, we need to have a different background color. So here let's type topic container, and for the radio buttons we have a class of radio. So let's type radio, and here we need to type :checked, and this will select the radio button that is selected right now. And here we can see that the label is present below the radio button, so we can use the plus selector over here, and you can just type label. And now when the radio button is checked, whatever styles we need can be added over here in the label. So let's type background, and let's set the background color to 023047. And now we can see this radio button is selected, so we have this background color, and if I select this, we have background color for this radio button. And let's also set the color of the text to white. Right now let's add some styling to the label. So here let's type topic container label, and let's set the width of the label to 100%, and let's set the padding of top and bottom, so you can just type padding block, and I'll just set it to 16 pixels, and let's add a border radius to have rounded corners, and let's set it to 8 pixels, and let's set the cursor to pointer, and this is how it looks. Now we also need to add some padding left to this label. So here we can see that we also have this icon for the radio button, so we need to add a lot more padding. So let's type padding left, and let's set it to 64 pixels. Right now let's go ahead and hide this radio button, the actual bullet over here, and we'll just keep this label. So let's go back, and here let's type topic container radio, and let's set the display to none. Right now for this icon we will use the before and after selectors in CSS. So let's go back, and let's type topic container label : after. Now in the after and before selectors, the first thing we need to add is the content. So let's type content, and if I just set it to 1, 2, 3, here we can see that 1, 2, 3 is being displayed after all these labels. So we don't want to display this 1, 2, 3. I'll just delete this from here, and we need to create a circle. So we will position this after selector relative to this label. So here for the label we need to type position relative, and here let's type position absolute, and here we'll just set the left position to 24 pixels. Let's set the height and the width of the element to 24 pixels, and we need to add a border, and we need to set it to 2 pixels solid, and for the color let's type 023047, and let's also set the border radius to 50% so that we have this round shape. Right now we need to bring this circle to the center, so let's type top, and let's set it to 50%, and now it starts from the 50% mark, so we need to also type transform translate y and negative 50%. Now when the radio button is selected, we need to change the color of this circle. So here let's type topic container radio : checked, and here let's type plus label : after, and here we'll just type border, and let's set it to 2 pixels solid white. And now you can see when it is selected we have this white color for the border, and it looks alright. Right now let's add the inner circle. So for that we will use the before selector. So I'll just type topic container label : before, and here also let's set the content to blank, and let's set the position to absolute, and let's set the top position to 50%, and transform translate y to negative 50%, and let's set the left position to 30 pixels, and we'll set the height and the width to 16 pixels. Let's set the border radius to 50% for round shape, And by default we will set the background color to transparent, so I'll just tap background transparent. And when the radio button is checked, we will change the background color to white. So let's type topic container radio colon checked label colon colon before, and here we also need to add a plus, and here let's tap background and let's set it to white. And now we can see that the radio button is displayed correctly. Right, now let's style this button. So for the button we have this button tag with the class of btn. So here let's type custom radio buttons btn, and let's set the padding to 12 pixels and 32 pixels, and let's set the background color to gray, and let's set the color of the text to 023047. We'll also set the border to 1 pixel solid 023047, and let's also add a border radius of 8 pixels, and let's set the font size to 18 pixels, and let's set a margin of 16 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right, and we'll also set the cursor to pointer. Alright, with that we have completed styling the button. Now let's add the simple functionality where when we click on these radio buttons and if I click on this proceed button, we have the heading displayed over here. So let's add this functionality. So for that we will just use the JavaScript file. So let's go to the main.js file, and here let's select the button. So I'll just tap const and I'll just call it btn equals document.querySelector, and the button is inside custom radio buttons button. Right, now let's add an event listener to this button. So I'll just type btn.add event listener, and let's listen for the click event. Now here the first thing we need to do is we need to see which of the buttons is selected. So let's create a constant and let's tap selected topic equals document.querySelector, and let's tap custom radio buttons, and in that we have this radio, and let's tap colon checked. Now this will give us the selected radio button over here. Now let's go ahead and display it in the console. So let's add an if condition and let's see whether any of the buttons are selected. And in this we need to display the heading. So here we can see that after the radio button we have this label. So this label is the next sibling of this input field, and in that we need to have the heading. So we need to select this heading from the next sibling of the input. So for that let's go ahead and create a const, and I'll just call it label text, and here let's type selected topic dot next element sibling dot query selector, and we need to select the h2, and in there we need to select the text. So let's type text content. Right, now let's simply go ahead and display it inside an alert. So I'll just tap alert, and here let's add backticks and let's tap selected topic is, and let's type $symbol curly braces label text. Right, now let's go back to our website and let's see whether it works. So let's click on this proceed button, and we have the topic displayed over here. Let's click on the second radio button, and if I click on proceed, we have the second topic displayed over here. So everything is working alright. So that's basically how you can create custom radio buttons for your websites using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video, and if you have any doubts you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.